my fellow Doctor Who fans, modern day entertainment is where creativity and invention goes to die. It's not because they don't have the ability to do it, it's because they don't want to do it. Because when a political figure, like the one who just won a big election in America, comes about, it sends people with the opposing ideology insane. And all of a sudden, an industry with great invention and creativity dies because the people are so angry and they want to talk about that figure in their entertainment, using the words entertainment loosely. So this is what's happened. And so you get something like the Doctor Who revival, full of invention and imagination, and all of a sudden it becomes something else. In this video, on this Doctor Who Day, I want to discuss what you do about the Timeless Children and the Bi-Generation. Russell T Davies' Bi-Generation wasn't done to be creative and interesting and to say, hey, every Doctor's alive now, we could do a multitude of spin-offs. You could literally bring back the 9th Doctor, the 10th Doctor, the 11th Doctor, the 12th Doctor, the 13th Doctor. Do you get me? And I mean, like Sylvester McCoy, if he's able to, you could do that. I don't know how many people will be calling for that. But McGann, Paul McGann, a Doctor we'd all like to see in his own spin-off series, he's out there somewhere. Joe Martin's Doctor, who's now being hidden. Imagine that, a black female, epic, awesome, a female Doctor, a mystery Doctor, the fugitive Doctor, is being hidden on audio. They keep on talking about representation and inclusion, and she's being hidden on audio. I would love to see Joe Martin's fugitive Doctor in a spin-off. So they're the problem, not us. We would like to see that. Because here's the thing. I think if you give Doctor Who fans, geeks, nerds of any fandom interesting things, they don't care what culture, what gender pronoun is representing those things. Let me give you a great example. David Palmer in 24 as the first black American president. Not one person complained about this. He was played by an outstanding actor. And is it Dennis Haysbert? What an actor, what a guy. And his characterization was so wonderful. Nobody cared. Nobody cared. You'd think, oh, it's controversial, the first black president. But nobody cared. You know why? Because we liked David Palmer. And of course, there's people out there with the ideology of black president, blah, blah, blah. But nobody cared, did they? Nobody cared. Because the characterization and the storytelling was done so well. 24 was broadcast on Fox for FFS, right? Without me swearing. You know, Fox is one of the biggest, or was one of the biggest right-wing outfits going. And they had a black president. So that's very interesting. When you do things well, nobody cares. If you gave Doctor Who fans a great, interesting, developed first female Doctor, nobody would have cared. Basically, Tulsi Cole played, a black actor was playing a companion in the Chibnall era. He did nothing with him. He first of all started giving him this dyspraxia thing, but then he just forgot all about it and didn't care about that character. You had an Indian companion in Yaz. What was her big storyline? Oh yeah, she was in love with the Doctor. Put the kettle on, boring. That's all you wanted to do. There was a good episode about her heritage, which was actually really well done and interesting, but she wasn't developed either. Then you've got Bradley Walsh playing Graham. There's no one with a bigger personality than Brad. They did nothing with him, right? When you do nothing with people, people are going to be upset. They're not going to watch your product anymore. The Timeless Children's motivation from Chris Chibnall was to rewrite Doctor Who history because there'd always been white male doctors. He decided, let's do this storyline, then we'll say there's lots of different diverse groups who have played or been the Doctor in the past. But he stumbled upon an interesting storyline, but that wasn't the reason why he developed the storyline. I've already explained to you why. Also, there's the commentary of, cultures, stealing other people's cultures, like the Brits and the Americans have been doing for years and years, invading countries. And that's what the whole Timeless Children thing's about. Stealing the Doctor's DNA and, creating Time Lord society. It's an interesting piece of commentary, but he had no interest in expanding upon it. So how do you fix the Timeless Children? You can ignore it like they did the whole half-human Doctor on his mother's side, the throwaway line in Doctor Who the movie. Of course, it was easier to ignore that because that's divorced from the revival. And there was a big space between Doctor Who the movie and the Doctor Who revival. You're talking about 96, 2005. That's a long time. That's 9 years. It's a big gap. So I don't think ignoring the Timeless Children is going to work. RTD, right? RTD could, said, I'm not ignoring this storyline. So he makes the new companion a foundling to have something in common with the Doctor, but that's all they do. Nothing else happens. You could say that the Master corrupted the Matrix and it's actually the Master who's the Timeless Child. But if you want to expand on it, you could say the Doctor has been watched by a watcher ever since he left, or they left, their real world. That the Doctor was shot into the void, into this other universe, because the Doctor's people had the gift of foresight and they knew the Doctor's imminent destiny. That's interesting, right? You could bring back the Time Lords and you could have a civil war between the Doctor's actual biological people and the Time Lords. The civil war could kick off because they stole the Doctor's DNA. There's interesting things you can do with it, but that only can happen if someone, someone who loves Doctor Who with an imagination, who really wants to fix this thing, who wants to take the Timeless Children, something that's basically an attempt to rewrite Doctor Who history, or a middle finger, to the fans. And, the Bi-Generation is a middle finger to Doctor Who fans. But there's something interesting you can do with it. RTD has no interest in bringing back Eccleston or McGann, using it. He has no interest. They'll try and use it for Big Finish, but they've been doing that for years anyway, bringing back past Doctors in Big Finish. What about live action? What about the TV show that's dying because of their anger and their frustration with a guy who's now president? They've gone insane. They hate their customers. Creativity and invention is dead in an industry that used to give us so much. And how long can you carry on like this? I've even, spoke about on my platforms before about doing Doctor Who, big budgeted Doctor Who movies and having A-listers in each film, and then they regenerate at the end of the film and you have a big cliffhanger and it becomes a movie franchise and quite interesting. But you've got to have the motivation to do that. You've got to have the motivation to either do something with the Timeless Children or ignore it. And Chibnall never had any motivations in doing that. And the Bi-Generation, the Bi-Generation is simply a middle finger to the fans. And I think that RTD must have been quite disappointed, because the idea of the Bi-Generation is for people to ignore the Timeless Children. So he's basically saying, I can do something dumb as well. Talk about me, hate me, stop talking about the Timeless Children. He was trying to create a distraction as well with the Bi-Generation. It simply didn't work. People say the Bi-Generation is rubbish, but the Timeless Children is going to be damaging for every future showrunner of Doctor Who, because people are never going to let it go. If Doctor Who takes a break for 20 years and comes back and they just ignore it, then you can ignore it, because there's been a big gap, like there was with Doctor Who the movie to the revival and that whole half-human Doctor on his mother's side. They're your options, but you need people who care about Doctor Who to work on Doctor Who. You need a clever person to be running Doctor Who. RTD is a very, very smart guy, but unfortunately his creativity and invention has gone to die. That's no longer his motivation.